Hey, this is what people came for. Kevin Durant, a generational type player himself, going against Victor.
Welcome back to your Valley Sports Plugs Phoenix Suns recap for the first 10 games of the 2023-2024 NBA season, covering October 24th through November 12th, 2023. The new season is upon us. I'm Chris Patrick, that's Michael Benjamin, and we're here to break it all down for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Mike, what did you see in those first two games to start the season?
Suns basketball is here, folks. My favorite time of the year. And it all kicked off on October 24th in San Francisco. Of course, like we know, lots of new faces on the floor, including a familiar face in Chris Paul, this time wearing a Warriors uniform. But no Bradley Beal to start the season, but Devin Booker picked up right where he left off, dropping 32 on 13 of 21 shooting and sprinkling in 8 assists. Point book is here to stay, folks. But Golden State used the 40-point third quarter to climb back into this one, and newcomer Jusuf Nurkic slammed the door shut with a driving layup in the closing seconds. Then it was off to LA to match up with LeBron and AD, and unfortunately, this is where the early season narrative kicks in. The Suns only muster 11 points in the fourth quarter as the Lakers rally from a 12-point deficit. LeBron closed out the game in the last minute with 2 buckets, and it was a free throw icing on top from Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis.
And it was finally time for the Suns' home opener, donning their brand new all-white uniforms and looking sharp. Unfortunately, no Devin Booker and no Bradley Beal for the home opener, and Kevin Durant only played 29 minutes. I think this was a good thing, though, being rewarded with some early season rest due to a large lead. It's really hard to say what the biggest difference maker was. Was it the Suns' 40-point third quarter or the Jazz turning the ball over 19 times in this game? Regardless, the Suns took this one for their first win at home. After that, the San Antonio Spurs roll into town, and this was the Suns' first meeting with the 7'4" rookie sensation Victor Wembanyama, who was the first overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. The Suns were outscored by 19 points in the second half, allowing San Antonio to cut it close in the final minutes. After a Wemby dunk cut the lead to just 1, Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson trapped Durant in the corner. Johnson stripped the ball loose and with 1.2 seconds left on the clock was able to absorb all of the contact and score the winning bucket. Disappointing L for the Suns.
It seemed like we were inching our way back to healthy as Devin Booker rejoined the lineup in the second matchup against the Spurs. And you'd think the energy should be there after such a shocking loss the game before. But it was the absolute opposite. The Suns fall behind by 19 after the first, and it was double digits all game until the fourth quarter when the Suns erased a 27-point deficit, but the Spurs rattled off 12 straight, including 10 from Wemby himself. It was the coming out party for the first overall pick, draining threes, working inside, and showing the versatility he was touted for. We then all had to set our alarms early for a 10 a.m. tip-off against the 76ers, and you guessed it, the Suns hit snooze. We're also throwing out the health tidbit I said from the last game, as Booker is now out after straining his calf against San Antonio. But Kelly Oubre Jr. put it to his old team, including 17 first-half points. Budding star Tyrese Maxey added in a double-double of his own with 22 and 10 assists. And the Sixers use an 18-6 run in the middle of the fourth to pull this one away.
It was back on the road to take on the Detroit Pistons in Detroit and facing former Phoenix Suns head coach Monty Williams for the first time in the regular season since matching up in the preseason. Monty said before the game, "These are really cool games to be a part of," but I don't think he was too happy with the end result. The Suns snapped a 3-game losing streak behind a strong performance from their guards, filling in for our still injured superstar backcourt of Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Eric Gordon, Grayson Allen, and Josh Okogie combined for 45 of the Suns' 120 points in this one. After that, they traveled a short distance over to Chicago to take on the Bulls. Suns got off to a hot start, outscoring the Bulls by 36 points in the first quarter. However, the Bulls fought back in the second, and it was a back-and-forth brawl the rest of the way through this one. The The Suns had a chance at the end of the fourth with the score locked at 107 apiece, but Kevin Durant was not able to make the last-second attempt, and this one was going to overtime. The back-and-forth nature of this one continued into overtime, and with 7 seconds left, Jusuf Nurkic makes a driving layup to take the lead and secure the victory for the Suns.
We head back to Phoenix to kick off the new NBA in-season tournament against the Lakers. The first appearance of the El Valle jerseys and the purple and turquoise court were a sight to see, that's for sure. Early life propelled the Suns to a 9-point lead, and Phoenix held tight until the fourth quarter as a 14-0 run gives LA its first lead of the second half, and a Cam Reddish corner three nailed the coffin close with 1:10 remaining. No rest for the weary, as they say, as the young guns, the OKC Corral, bounce into town. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, impressive with 35 points. Jalen Williams exploded for 31 of his own. And the Suns were just out-hustled by this young squad as Phoenix shoots 2 for 21 in the fourth quarter, only putting up 13 points and are outscored by 18 to end this one. Are we panicking, Suns fans? Let's pump the brakes, folks. But it's not the way that we wanted or envisioned this season starting off, right? After the first 10, the Suns are 4-6, hovering around the bottom of the play-in tournament standings. We do know things are going to move around a lot as we roll even further into this season, but that's where we stand to start. So, Chris, got to pass it over to you, man. What have you been seeing from this brand new Phoenix Suns squad to start this year?
Mike, that's a good question. You got to take the good with the bad early in the season. And a lot of people said, don't worry about it. Suns aren't fully healthy. We're not worried about winning games in October and November. It's all about being healthy in the new year and making a run for the playoffs. And while I can agree to a point, I am concerned, Mike. We're sub 500, 10 games into the season. I don't know about you, man, but I just haven't really felt a connection to this team yet. And it doesn't really seem like they're feeling much of a connection out there either. It's kind of hard when you're promised the big three of Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant. And so far, you haven't gotten that package yet. And that is my biggest concern. Is there going to be enough games these guys get to play together where they can build that chemistry, find that connection, and go on a championship run? I'm not quite as worried as I think I might have been in years past. I think we're going to get there and things are looking good. Like I said, you got to take the good with the bad. We are seeing some good things out of this bench at times, just a lot of inconsistency and not really knowing who's going to play what role. Biggest thing for me, though, I'd have to speak on is them not finishing games. I really don't know what's going on with them late in the fourth quarter of these ball games, man. Through 10 games, they've been outscored by 61 points in the fourth quarter. That is just absolutely wild to me. If they can clean that up, we could be looking at a 8-2 team, a 10-0 team. It's really hard to say, and I'm not here to play the coulda, shoulda, woulda, because anything can happen. This is professional basketball after all. But regardless, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen when these big three get healthy. It sounds like Devin Booker could be coming back within the next week or so, and I'm really excited. Hopefully, Durant and Beal can stay healthy in the meantime, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, the biggest thing we have to remember, there are 12 new faces on this Phoenix Suns team. I got to look at a couple of the new ones right off the bat. We talk about Jusuf Nurkic coming over from that big DeAndre Ayton trade. He's been kind of neck and neck with the same production that DeAndre has been giving over in Portland. He's averaging 10.1 points, 9.2 rebounds, and a nice 4.6 assists, if I might say so myself, in about 27 minutes per game. We do know that Nurk is limited. He doesn't have the explosiveness. He is a little bit slow moving laterally. So we've been seeing those struggles on the defensive end when it comes to not being able to switch like we did with DA. But that's where Drew Eubanks comes in, man. He's been impressive, I'd say so, to start this season. 18.6 minutes, 7.3 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game. He's more of a utility when it comes to his athleticism, right? He can get up. He's throwing it down every single game, it seems like. And he's had to kind of stretch out his minutes a little bit more with the limitations from Nurkic to start this season. I got to go back and look at Josh Okogie kind of being a scapegoat right now when it comes to people talking down on him when it comes to the offensive end. folks, this isn't new. I mean, we know that Josh Okogie, he is successful on the defensive end, right? And we're seeing right now he is struggling from three, only 17.4%. So that's why we're starting to see Keita Bates-Diop get a little bit more starts now. He's started 4 games in 22.1 minutes, averaging 6.7 points and 4.3 rebounds, shooting 33% from three. He needs to step that up just a little bit more, but he gives a little bit more length with his 6'8" frame. And I got to double down with what this whole recap has been about so far, right? Which is the inability of the big three to get on the floor together just yet to start this season. I mean, poor Devin Booker, man. He's struggling through the preseason with his toe. Then he sprains his ankle against Golden State. And then finally comes back and in that same game strains his calf against the Spurs. But there's bigger fish to fry when it comes down to making sure that he's healthy and available down the stretch for this team. So we don't want to pull him back too fast. But I know as Suns fans, we're all chomping at the bit to see these guys all play together. So it's been an interesting start to the season, to say the least. But we've come to the time in the recap, Chris. It's our favorite time. It's time to let us know who your player of the recap is for the first 10.
Ooh, baby, my player of the recap. Who has been standing out in these first 10 games of the season? For me, it's got to be Grayson Allen. I mean, we know Devin Booker is important to this team, but just how important is he? I mean, we have been struggling with him not in the lineup, but a guy in Grayson Allen has been a diamond in the rough for us. Through the first 10 games, he's averaging 12.2 points per game, shooting 48.2% from the three-point line, and has averaged 31.4 minutes per game. So he's eaten up those Booker and Beal minutes when they're not out there. I think he might have the makings of a sixth man in him if he keeps trending this way. The guy that can be a change of pace, give Booker and Beal some rest, and alter the course, because right now he's going against the starting lineup. Imagine Grayson Allen coming in off the bench, playing with the twos, and seeing what he could do in that role. I'm just really excited to see what he can do, especially once our team is at full strength. So Grayson Allen is my player of the recap for this first recap of the year. Mike, what about you?
Chris, we knew it was only a matter of time before Grayson Allen was going to be appearing as a player of the recap. The catalyst, that type of guy. If he's not on your team, you hate him. But if he's on your team, you love him. So great pick with that one. But this one, let's just be honest, it's going to be first of many. My player of the recap is Kevin Durant. Over the first 10, he's averaging 30 points, 7 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and just over a block per game. He is also averaging almost 37 minutes a game to start this season. Kind of wearisome, but he's had to do it by himself, Chris, right? He has to go out there, shoot over 25 times a game, it seems like, for this team to even really be in it towards the end, because our second unit has been struggling from the offensive end. So Kevin Durant, keep it going, man. Keep it going. But it's time for some of these other guys and these new faces to start stepping up even more when Devin Booker returns.
Without a doubt, and we are going to keep an eye on that for you and keep bringing you a recap every 2 weeks throughout the season. So let's take a quick look at the next 2 weeks of matchups for November 15th through November 26th. We're going to be at home facing the Minnesota Timberwolves before hitting the road for 2 straight against the Utah Jazz in Utah. We'll be back at home for 2 games against Portland and Golden State before finishing out the next 2 weeks on the road against the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks. Like I said, we're going to keep bringing you a recap of the Phoenix Suns every 2 weeks this season. So make sure you subscribe right here on YouTube and set those notifications so you can stay up to date with all the Valley Sports and Phoenix Suns action. For Michael Benjamin, I'm Chris Patrick, and we'll see you next time. Peace.